Good day, ladies and gents. We're going to look at factoring when a is not equal to 1. It's also known as complex trinomials. This is a continuation from a previous video. We were factoring when a did equal 1. So you can recall sum and product. We had two values, sum, and this was the b value. Doesn't look like a b at all. And product, which was the c value. We had to find two numbers that fit those factors, and it was number there, minus or plus, whatever those values were. This is April 14th of 2020. It's grade 10 math, and this is Mr. Benjamin speaking. This tends to be a bit more of a difficult concept, so I'm going to do my best to explain it, but as always, comments if you have questions. So the learning goals for this lesson, we are going to recall values a, b, and c in our trinomials. In fact, recall what a trinomial is. We're going to recall the product and sum, just like I mentioned here, when factoring trinomials. And we're going to eventually factor complex trinomials when a does not equal 1. This is the big key here. So if we think in mind that x squared valued, whatever this value is, it's not 1. Okay? So it could be 10, 15, 1,000, 3 million, whatever it is, it's not 1. It's going to make it a bit more difficult, but we do have a way of factoring, so let's get to it. Recalling what a trinomial is. Three terms. You're going to have your a value, your b value, and your c value. Okay? A value here is always squared. It's the second degree. B value is always just a singular unknown, and your c value, c stands for constant, right? Not really, but that's how I remember it. Constant. So there's no variable here. Nothing there, okay? If I look at this 7x squared, keep in mind this is the coefficient. It's the number before the variable, and this right here is the variable, or your unknown. We often use x. Any letter can be used. If we were to factor this, if we look at this first value, a, this does not equal 1, okay? If I look at the rest of the values within here, I can see that they're all divisible by 7, so I can actually take 7 out. 7x squared plus 2, subtract 3. Now I'm left with 7 multiplied by x squared, positive 2, negative 3. Remember, these are a, b, and c. So in this case, my a does equal 1. Okay? Now I have to think of values that kind of work with positive 2 and negative 3. If we recall, b was our sum and c was our product. So if I write these here, sum of positive 2, product, and of course that means when they multiply them together, negative 3. Think of two values that will add up to positive 2, and when you multiply them, get negative 3. Okay, I always go to the product first because it's easier. How can I get 3 when I multiply? 1 multiplied by 3. That's pretty much the only way to get it. Now I have to find a way to get positive 2 when we work that out. And of course this has to be negative as well. So 1 multiplied by 3 is 3, so that can't be the answer. I'm sorry if the hand is in the way here. I can actually write that further down here. So if I do positive 1 multiplied by negative 3, that will give me negative 3. But if I do positive 1 plus negative 3, that gives me negative 2 as a sum, so that's incorrect. If I flip those signs, and I do negative 1 multiplied by positive 3, I will still get negative 3 as a product. If I do negative 1 plus positive 3, I will now get positive 2 as a sum. So that works out. So my values will be x minus 1 and x plus 3. If I wanted to, I could then FOIL this out, and I should end up with my original answer. Not going to do that now. If you want to see that happen, go back to the previous video, watch that again. When a does not equal 1, and you can't factor it, okay, so for this example, I have 6x squared plus 13x minus 5. I cannot factor anything out of these values. There's no common factors out of any of these values. So in this case, a is the problem because it does not equal 1. How can we get rid of a? How can we make it so that a is actually equal to 1? Well, we're not actually going to make a equal to 1 per se. What we're going to do is we're going to multiply it by c. So a multiplied by c gives you ac. In this case, our a value is 6. Our c value is negative 5. So our ac value, which is still the product, we're going to write that down, is going to be negative 30. Okay? So if we do our sum and product, our sum is 13 because that's our b value, and our product, we now found it, is negative 30. So we're going to do the exact same thing. Sum, 13, product, negative 30. This looks like negative 13. It's not supposed to be that. So what two values give me negative 30? 1 multiplied by 30, one of them has to be negative. 2 multiplied by 15, one of those has to be negative, doesn't matter which one for now. 5 multiplied by 6, I think that's it. It's not going to be 1 and 30 because those in no way can add up to 13. It's not going to be 5 and 6 because those in no way add up to 13. You get close. You could get 11 out of that, but that's not what we want. So our values, I'm going to erase all that, make it look better. Positive 13, negative 30. Our values are going to be 2 and 15. Question is in what denomination or which value has the negative sign in front of it. If I do positive 15 multiplied by negative 2, I will get negative 30. If I do, and I'll write it over here, positive 15 plus negative 2, I will get positive 13. So I think our values are going to be positive 15 and negative 2. So do I have space on here? Yeah, okay. Keep that in mind, 15 and negative 2. Our next step is to replace the middle term, which was b. Our b was 13, but we're actually going to change that. Becomes positive 15x, negative 2x. Okay, and this will be on the next slide. So our equation is still pretty much the same. The only thing that we've done is turn this 13x into 15x subtract 2x. And if you work that out, 15 subtract 2, you still get negative 13, right? Or positive 13, I should say, excuse me. So it still works out. Let me erase all of that and do it cleaner. Okay, so now we have positive 6x squared plus 15x, subtract 2x minus 5. What we're going to do now is group these. Group the first two terms and group the second two terms. So like that and like that. Now we're going to try to factor out. I can't factor anything here, so that's not going to factor, okay? What about 6x and positive 15x? I'm pretty sure 3 can go into both of these, right? So we would end up with 3x bracket. If I take 3 out of this 6x, I'm left with 2x. And if I take 3 out of this 15x, it's actually 3x, not just 3. I end up with, look at that, 5x plus 5x. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Now this side here, I have 2 negatives, so I'm going to factor out that negative 1. Okay. Factor, whoops. Out negative 1. So I'll be left with negative 1 multiplied by 2x plus 5x. I just want to make sure that math works out there. I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah, okay. Now if I look at it, if I look at these two terms here, 2x plus 5x, those are the exact same, right? If we recall when we did our factoring by grouping, what we could do is take these two values, 3x subtract 1, and multiply that by what's left over, 2x plus 5. So that will be our final answer. So a lot of people, myself included, tend to get kind of confused from this point, changing these values, and getting this factor. So we're going to do another example to try to keep that in mind. But up until this point, really the only thing that's changed is that we've multiplied a by c and then changed the factors, or changed the values inside of the equation. If we look at this next example, we have 2x subtract 5x plus 3. Again, can't factor. right? And a does not equal 1. So what we're going to do is multiply a by c. So 2 multiplied by positive 3. That actually kind of looks like 2x plus 3, but it's actually 2 multiplied by, which equals 6x. So I want to make sure I've got myself on the right page so far. So my product, my new c value is 6, and my sum is still negative 5. So sum, negative 5. Product is positive 6, positive 6. Okay, so I need to think of two values that give me that positive 6 when you multiply them, and negative 5. And I think this one's probably a bit more obvious than the other ones. If I take, hold on a second, I think I may have, oh, sorry, this is negative 3. I know I did something wrong there. So that changes this to become negative. My mistake. This is negative 6. So it's actually a product of negative 6 and a sum of negative 5. And I think that makes it a bit easier. So if I take 1 multiplied by 6, I will get 6. 1 plus 6 actually equals 7. So therein lies that problem. If I take 1 and I multiply it by negative 6, I still get negative 6 as an answer, which is what I actually want in the first place. 1 plus negative 6 is equal to negative 5. So therefore my numbers are 1 and negative 6. Okay. Now, going back, once I found my two values, what I'm going to do, these here, remember I replaced the middle terms with that. So if I rewrite my equation, so I'll do replace b, it'll be 2x squared plus, doesn't matter which way I write it, yeah, I'm going to do minus 6x plus 1x subtract 3. Okay, now if I look at this, I'm going to group and factor. So let's take this first set and the second set, and I hope at this point everyone can kind of see where that's going to end up. 2x squared minus 6x, I can pull out 2x. I'm left with x subtract 3. Pretty sure, yep. And if I look at this second value, well, this is pretty much already x subtract 3, because this 1x is irrelevant. X subtract 3. There is an imaginary 1 kind of in front of there, and you know what, I'll even write it there, just to make it easier to see. This will be plus 1. X subtract 3. Okay, so now I have two terms that are the same, so that can be factored out. It'll be 2x plus 1 multiplied by x subtract 3. That's our final answer. Now if by chance when you're writing it you end up with x subtract 3 multiplied by 2x plus 1, that's the exact same thing. It's just written differently, right? Still the same. So that's still your value. Do another example here. This one's a bit tougher. So if you look at all these values, 20x squared, negative 20x squared, subtracts negative 24x, and then plus 32. Can we factor anything? First of all, a does not equal 1. Can we factor? If I look at 20, 24, 32, in my mind, first of all, any even number can be divided by 2. However, if I'm looking at 20, 24, and 32, I'm pretty sure those all go into 4. Or 4 goes into all of those values. So I can factor out a 4. And in fact, I'm going to factor out a negative 4 to make it easier on me. So this will become 5x squared plus 4 into 24, 6. And subtract, because of the value, or because of the sign there, negative 8. 4 multiplied by 8, yeah. Alright, so this already looks easier than it did before. I still don't have a equaling 1, right? A does not equal 1. Therefore, I must multiply A by C. Alright, so if I write that out, I'll end up with sum, positive 6, product, I'll write this out, 5 multiplied by negative 8 equals negative 40. So this might be a bit more difficult. Negative 40. What two values, when multiplied together, give me a product of 40, but a sum of positive 6? Let's work that out. 1 multiplied by 40, that's not going to work. 2 multiplied by 20, that's not going to work. You get to 18, you get to 22, that's it. 3 doesn't work. 4 multiplied by 10. 4 multiplied by 10, okay, we can work with this. We want to get to positive 6, but we need negative 40. So how about positive 10 multiplied by negative 4, and positive 10 plus negative 4. This is going to equal negative 40. This is going to equal negative 6. Positive 6, excuse me. So that looks like it's it. So our values are 10, positive 10, and negative 4. So now that we have our sum and product values, our factors, we have to keep in mind we are replacing, I'll write this in blue, replace B. So let's write it out again. So we'll have negative 4, 5x squared, plus 10x, subtract 4x, subtract 8. So these two terms together will still give me positive 6, right? If I were to collect them. And that's what I had up here. So we're on the right track. Okay? Now that we are at that point, we are going to group. And the one thing I want to do is get rid of these brackets. I'm going to have to erase the whole thing. 4x. Okay, make sure I have my signs right. Yeah. So let's group. Group slash factor. That's our next step. Okay, let's group it in green. So we've got 5x squared, negative 4. All right, let's see what can come out of here. What can come out of that? I can take a 5x. I can take 5x out. So negative 4. Let's do a square bracket. 5x, open bracket, x plus 2. And for here, I have negative 4x. Can I pull negative 4 out? I think I can pull it. Yeah. Let's do minus 4 bracket x subtract 2. Subtract 2? X plus 2. Plus 2, yeah. Because I'm taking negatives out each side. So, if I look here now, I've got equal terms, or equal factors here. So this part might get a little bit hairy, I guess that's the word I'm looking for, but we're going to work through it. A lot of values, and I think I'm going to make myself more space here. So I'm going to copy this whole thing. Nothing's changing, just moving. Alright. Don't need that, I don't need this. So the only thing that happened between these two steps is that we took these two groups and factored them out. And I've got x plus 2 here and x plus 2 here. And I'm left with, I'm going to keep my negative 4, bracket, 5x is there, subtract 4, multiplied by x plus 2. And that, I believe, is going to be our final answer. So I don't think we can do anything else after that. So we're good. We are at 20 minutes, 19 minutes, so I'm going to say thank you. Hopefully you've made it through the whole video. I know this tends to be a bit more complicated, so please comment if needed. Another happy face. Have a great day, everyone.